Good evening, everybody. I want to open the regular business meeting of the Board of Education, Franklin Township Schools, Board, Administration Campus, All-Purpose Room. Today is Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. It is approximately 6:40, I would say. Brian, let's have a roll call.
Mr. DeMeglio.
Here.
Mr. Grippo. Yes. Ms. Inocencio.
Here.
Mr. Jackson. Ms. LaCourte. Here. Ms. Maris.
Here.
Mr. Parker. Ms. Singh. Dr. Hopkins.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right. Open Public Meeting Act statement. In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act 1975, 231 Sunshine Law, copies of the public meeting notice were sent to the Courier News, the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, the Franklin Reporter, Tap Into Franklin Township Clerk Manager, District Schools, Offices, and Association, PTO Presidents, and posted on the district website. Motion to adjourn to a confidential session for the purpose of discussing confidential matters, including personal matters. Minutes of the confidential session will be made public when the reason for confidentiality no longer exists.
Second.
So moved by Nancy, seconded by Lori. So moved. All right, folks, we are back from the confidential session. And minutes of the confidential session will be made public when the reason for confidentiality no longer exists. Jimmy, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And at the other end of the table, Nick, can you give us the mission statement?
Franklin Township Public Schools Franklin Township Public Schools embraces its diversity, fosters excellent educational innovation, and empowers all students to achieve their highest potential.
Motion action to adopt the agenda.
Second.
So moved by Nancy and seconded by Lori. Brian, can I have a roll call?
Mr. DeMeglio. Yes. Mr. Grippo. Yes. Ms. Inocencio.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson. Oops, sorry, not here. Ms. LaCourte.
Yes.
Ms. Maris.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Dr. Hopkins.
Yes. All right. Now we are on to the student representative report. Ladies?
Hello, my name is Haiti and I'm one of the new student government BOE liaisons. I'm currently a junior in high school and I'm hoping to study something chemistry related when I get to college.
My name is Dirty Sastry and I'm also one of the new student government BOE liaisons, and I'm also a junior in high school, and when I get to college I want to study something health related. Here are some of the things going on at FHS. The student government is continuing its fundraising efforts for Ava's Voice, an NJASC state charity supporting children with Usher syndrome, through a Smart Snack sale.
Senior event tickets are available for purchase in the senior suite. The project graduation permission slip is now available. Please visit the Class of 2025 Google Classroom for a brief survey to help choose the event theme.
If you're considering a career as a teacher, guidance counselor, school social worker, or even want to open a daycare center, our new CTE education program would be the perfect fit for you. We're hosting an information session for current 9th graders on Friday, March 21st. Please email Ms. Mandora for more details.
Senior athletes can access the form for post-high school athletics through the respective Google Classrooms.
The FHS Aviation Club invites all students and staff to the Media Center on Wednesday, March 19th from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. to hear Miss New Jersey USA 2024, Jabili Kandula, share her inspiring journey as a private pilot, aviation journalist, and a pageant winner.
The second annual Ramadan Gratitude event will be held on Wednesday, March 19th from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. It will include a meal packing for the Franklin Food Bank, followed by dinner. This free event is open to all FHS students and staff. Mrs. Basha will also be collecting donations.
Learn more about the RVCC Advanced Manufacturing Program on Thursday, March 20th at 8:30 a.m. Please email Ms. Mandora for more information.
The Racket Club is collecting new or gently used books to donate to the Franklin Township Public Library from March 17th to March 28th. And that is all.
Wonderful job, ladies. Thank you for your time and thank you for that report. All right, now we're going to go with the presentation with Dr. Rivali and Mr. Frey on the FY26 budget.
I'm just going to move you over here.
I'm getting ready.
I'm going to take this out because I move around a little bit. It'll make things a little bit easier. So, tackling the challenges of the 25-26 school year budget. So this is the preliminary budget presentation. It's not the budget hearing. So for those that are in the audience, what's going to happen is we're going to present the preliminary budget. I would ask you to take notes. If you have questions, hold on to them. It's not a budget hearing, so you have to wait till the public comment portion, which, by the way, happens immediately after this, to be able to ask questions. But Dr. Hopkins, I will turn to you, ask if there are any clarifying questions from the board on any of what is presented. And then, of course, we'll come back in April, do this again, and that will be in the form of a budget hearing, which means the questions and answers will happen immediately following the presentation. So, again, very challenging budget for FY26, or the 25-26 school year. I wanted to just take an opportunity to remind everybody of our board members, and I also wanted to highlight members of our finance committee, which you'll see there with the asterisk. Those folks were highly involved with the development process, leaned in on our folks quite a bit. Again, a little bit more of a challenging year than what is typical. Mr. Jackson is the Board of Education Finance Chairperson for the Finance Committee, and then Ms. LaCourte and Ms. Maris are also members of the Finance Committee. And then, of course, all of the board members lended their expertise in the areas that they are familiar with. Here are our budget managers, and you can see there are quite a few of them. This represents about 40 different people within the school district that help to manage the school district budget, including the principals and the district academic content supervisors, and then all those other individual areas, Director of Food Services, Information Technology, Supervisor of Buildings and Grounds, so forth. So you can see there are lots of folks involved with the development of our budget. It's not something that is top down, but it comes from the bottom up. Goals for tonight's meeting: we're going to review the budget calendar. We're going to review the challenges to and the strategies for developing the 25-26 budget. We're going to review the previously approved budget goals. We're going to receive some board input, and then, of course, during the public comment section, you'll have an opportunity to come up to the mic. And then Stephen, our school business administrator, Mr. Freed, will review the estimated revenues, and then we'll review next steps. The calendar, you can see this process starts at the very beginning of the school year. So we're already thinking about next year on September 26th of the current year. That's when the board approves the budget goals to help guide the process of developing the budget, and they also approve the calendar. And then you can see a lot of work getting done throughout the fall, leading up to February 25th, which is an important date for all of us. That's when the governor gives his annual address, and that's when he speaks to the revenue that might be available to support the appropriations side of the budget. And 48 hours afterward is when we get a lot of those figures, and that's when we put the finishing touches on the preliminary budget. And then we bring it here. Once the preliminary budget's approved for submission, it'll go to the county superintendent. The county superintendent reviews line items to make sure everything is where it belongs. And then we advertise the budget once we have the county's approval. And then we host a budget hearing, which is on April 24th. Assuming that all goes well and the budget gets adopted in April, then that becomes the budget for the new school year. The fiscal year for us begins July 1. So July 1, 2025 will begin the 25-26 school year, and that is the budget we're talking about. Okay, challenging times, fiscal challenges and adjustments. So what this is depicting for you is the fact that we had some challenges with revenue, factors contributing to reduced income, or revenue in our case. We had increased expenses, which we're going to talk a little bit more about, and that is going to cause some program and staff adjustments, and they're necessary changes because that's the only way to balance a school budget. So what specifically are we talking about? Lost revenue as compared to the previous year budget. We have reduced state aid. Those exact numbers are going to come from Mr. Freed when he comes up here, and you're going to see it's going to be close to around 800,000, but he'll give you those exact numbers in his slide. You're going to see that all these other things contributed to that reduce in state revenue. State facility tuition increases, semi-aid, which is based on Medicare. We have reduced projections there. We've got a fund balance that's not state connected, but that's our own. Budgets have gotten tighter and tighter and tighter over the last several years because of our 2% spending growth limit. So that means we can't roll any fund balance into the next year. So therefore, as you go tighter and tighter, you lose that revenue as well. And of course, due to inflation, we have our own interest revenue reductions because our money that sits in the bank and different reserves doesn't make the kind of money that it was making as in previous years. On top of that, on the expenditure side or appropriation side, you're looking at 5 to 7+ in some cases increases on fixed expenses. What's a fixed expense? It's a salary, it's a health benefit, transportation, utilities, PERS contributions. That's really a contribution made to the public employee retirement system for those that are not in the certified TPAP system, the teachers and whatnot. These are folks that are outside of that. The district has a contribution towards that, and that's been going up every year. Insurances, Social Security insurance, out-of-district placement tuitions, all of these things going up as inflation is going up, outpacing inflation, and certainly outpacing our spending growth limit. So now you have lost revenue as compared to the previous year. You have inflation-affected fixed expenses increasing by a decent amount, and that's causing program and staff adjustments to the tune of about $6 million. And that's what you see here. So if you go back to that slide, with decreased revenue and increased expenses, the only way to get there is to make program and staff adjustments. And we had to make $3.3 million in program adjustments, which we're going to define, and we had to make roughly $2.7 million in staff adjustments, which is how you get to the balanced budget. So, what's the first strategy employed in the program area? We go back to the budget managers. You saw 10 principles, and we say to those 10 principles, we got to reduce those school budgets. So we reduced those school budgets by an additional 15%. They already started with a 10% adjustment. And what does that look like? That looks like less paper and less general supplies. Thankfully, some of them have been able to stock some of that, so I don't know that it'll have a huge impact, but it'll be a challenge. right? Less paper clips, less pencils, and less general supplies. The curriculum and instruction supervisors had to reduce their budgets. And how do they do that? Consumable materials, if they've had any additionals, they're going to use those first before ordering new. Professional development contracts, those folks that come in from the outside to do work with us. Consulting contracts, and of course, reduced hourly work. Things like curriculum writing or any other kind of hourly work that maybe can happen at a later date. But not only the principals reducing budgets, not only the curriculum and instruction supervisors reducing budgets, we also have athletic department that needs to reduce budgets, and that's the same reduction there. That really meant finding transportation efficiencies, using our people instead of vendors whenever we can. Could be things like putting, the tennis team on one bus instead of sending JV one place and varsity another. So finding efficiencies where efficiencies can be found and getting that budget down by 25% as well. Separate from that, we also had to work on our RTS program a bit. So that has grown over time, and that really has morphed into a 6-hour program. Some of that time we spend at the youth center doing some career exploration kind of work, and most of that time, the 4-hour piece of time, we spend after hours at the Hamilton Street campus doing academic work and mandatory elections. Right now, we're going to have to shelve the career exploration part, the youth center part. There's transportation involved with that. There's additional monies involved with that, and bring the program back to what it was originally intended to do, offer an alternative, a much smaller environment for the academic and necessary electives so that students can still meet their graduation requirements and continue to grow within our program. Just unfortunately, some of the additional programming that we've added over time, we're going to have to shelf. Cutting that down by an equal percentage also helps, and actually a little bit more, helps us to save the necessary money so that when you look at all of those things, you get a program savings of about $1.3 million, a little more. Here, still working within the program world, we've got a lot of mentoring programs, and we're looking to eliminate them for now, get them out of our operating budget while we seek grant opportunities and outside funding so that we can maybe perhaps run some of those programs and/or volunteerism so that we can continue with some of those programs that we've found to be successful while not hitting our operating budget. We're looking at reducing or approaching behavioral health referrals and behavioral health services a little differently. We use a lot of outside services right now. We're looking to explore the use of telemedicine, which would be much more economical, obviously, and maybe do more work in-house. And then the other thing we're going to look to do is have a little less reliance on vendor-supplied behavioral technicians, get back to using our paraprofessionals, and have those paras work with behavioral technicians to support the needs of our students. So we're going to drastically reduce our reliance on vendor-supplied behavioral technicians, which means we will be able to, with those strategies, save another $1.8 million, which gets us to that 3.3-ish in program adjustments. We've had a lot of conversations about this, even though it's a small number of dollars, eliminating the Saturday detention program, which is, an after-hours kind of hourly program that costs money to run, and then eliminating after-school busing after the prior year reduction. So we've already reduced after-school busing. We've already reduced after-school busing and shortened it by the number of months we offer it. We're looking at this point at taking it one step further. Now, board members were concerned about that. I know Mr. DeMaglio brought it up, that based on his experiences in the past, that was challenging, and other board members did the same. And, you know, there may be opportunities, since it's not a big item, for us to explore ways to resurrect that. We just haven't gotten there yet. The good news is we don't really rely on that. We only rely on it at the secondary level, and we don't rely on that until later in the fall. So we'll have time, we'll have time to explore ways that we might be able to offer some service, and we would love to do that because we know it does really handcuff our parents and our kids and does have some effect on programming, especially at the secondary level. But as of right now, we haven't gotten there. And then this is staffing changes. So far you've gotten your roughly 3.3 million in program changes, another 2.6 in staffing changes, which is the challenge. So we're looking to reduce certificated staff positions by about 3%. And in these areas, fewer academic instructional coaches, fewer academic interventionists, and fewer administrative support personnel. And we're defining administrative support personnel as our deans at the secondary level and in-school suspension teachers at the secondary level. We think we can do some of that work, replacing it with technology, replacing it with duty periods. We think in the academic interventions world, I think we can, we're going to have to work to get a little better at preparing our folks to be able to handle what we call Tier 1 and Tier 2 interventions, which are whole class interventions within the classroom. Differentiating instruction is another way to say that. And maybe spread our Tier 3 kids out a little further. And then fewer instructional coaches, maybe in some of our smaller buildings, team some folks together. Do we necessarily always want to do that? No, but these are efficiencies that we're looking to have to take this year. Again, that's a small reduction in that area. I say fewer because I don't know exactly how many we have. And we won't know that because a lot of this we're going to try and do through attrition, meaning folks retire, folks leave, folks go to a different district for a different job. We're going to try and plug those holes by moving people around. So we have fewer people in those positions, but we don't know how many until we know how many actual retirements we have and how many actual resignations we have, because it's all about the actual dollar figure. The idea is to hold on to as many folks as we can, right? And again, that's really just a small portion of what we're looking at. We'll have that number more exact, by the way, for the, where's my water? We'll have that number more exact for the April hearing. Reduced administrative supervisory personnel, again, same theory there, redistribution of duties. We've got some movement through retirement and attrition. We hope to be able to have a savings there as well. And then reduce non-certificated staff positions. And that does mean fewer safety personnel, fewer custodial positions. We don't think it's a lot overall, again, less than 5%. And a lot of that will definitely come from attrition, retirement, that kind of thing. So we do see, and we are aiming for about a $2.6 million savings there, which means we get to where we need to get to, a balanced budget, while maintaining a lot of things as well. No program cuts, and we're going to go through that real quick. The board sets goals in September each year and says, hey, we have a strategic plan, and we would like to make sure we are targeting some of the monies within our budget toward these goals. So I'm going to start with those. Goal 1, and you can see if you're that interested when this gets uploaded after my presentation to the website, you'll be able to click on district goal number 1, and it's right there at the top. I'm not going to read it, but really focuses on wellness and safety. And you can see the kinds of things that are going to be maintained or added through the FY26 budget. We will have behavioral health supports via telemedicine and Zufall Health, and we will still maintain some clinical folks within our buildings. Maybe not as many as we have today, but hopefully that's where the telemedicine will help us. We're going to continue to use the threat assessment software, Hipster software, and other software packages that help us to maintain the safety within our buildings. We're going to keep our surveillance equipment up to date. We're going to add cameras where we need to. We're going to have our visitor management system well maintained, and we're going to continue to use that, continue to grow with that. That's a new system as of last year. We're going to purchase supplies and equipment to support our district safety plan, i.e., you'll see when Mr. Freed gets up here, he's going to talk about buying the classroom lockdown shades for all of the facilities, all the doors in our facility, a concern that we've heard about over the years. We're going to open the district's school-based medical center for students and their families in July 1st. That's near completion. We're going to keep our Class 3 officers, and we're going to make sure that we have a school resource officer at the secondary schools. With regard to, and these are just examples and highlights, so you're not going to see much of a change in the area of safety. One of the things the board added this year to its goals was to make sure that the strategic plan, which you can see on the bottom, although this thing doesn't seem to want to work. You can see in green, it says strategic plan. You can highlight and see the entire plan, but these are some of the things that we're doing that are mentioned specifically in the strategic plan. We created an after-school enrichment dinner program at PGM. As a pilot, we're going to continue that program and maybe even look to expand it. We got the Warrior Health Center, which provides health care options for our staff. We're going to continue that. That's been well received. No intention on changing anything there. We have partnerships with local organizations that help to facilitate information and materials to support student nutrition and dental health. You've seen the dental health van visit our schools. We're going to continue to do some of that. We're going to continue to use the New Jersey SCI platform in order to analyze our culture and climate data, because we are going to continue with our SEL initiatives, and we're going to continue with our PBIS initiatives. So none of that changes. We're going to continue to look and seek to find teachers to fill our bilingual vacancies and fill our world language staff vacancies through the use of the J1 visa program. We're one of the few school districts in the state that has such a robust program and have been able to find folks to fill what I would say are near impossible positions to fill. We're the envy of a lot of folks when it comes to that. And attendance and hosting of various job fairs and recruitment efforts, because we're going to continue to seek folks to fill our classrooms where there may be vacancies. Goal 3 speaks to specialized programs. You heard the young ladies speak a little bit earlier in their presentation about what's become wildly popular aviation program. No intention on doing anything there other than continuing it and looking to grow it where possible. We got a nice grant. We're going to support that with the addition of a cybersecurity curriculum. And that, I believe, is getting ready to roll out or is rolled out. We have really worked hard to grow our CTE, Career Technical Education program. We've got a CTE approved in dance, television, business marketing. And I know we've been working on a future educators program, and I'm getting the thumbs up. Looks like we're going to be there for next year. So we'll have a future educators program that we're supporting in the career technical education field. We're going to maintain our gifted and talented program initiatives. No real change there. We're going to continue with our RVCC advanced manufacturing program. You know, there's an expense associated with that. Putting our kids on a bus, they go get a great experience where they get NIM certification at RVCC for the work they're doing in the manufacturing world. We're going to maintain all of our fine visual performing arts programs, no cuts to any of those programs. We're going to maintain all our extracurricular activities, including all of our athletic programs. with no real effect there. We're supporting everything that we've supported in the past. We're going to continue world languages instruction at the current levels in all schools. And we are actually expanding our bilingual education program, adding more sections to service more kids as our program continues to grow, as that population continues to grow. So those are some of the things, again, the highlights of what is supporting budget goal number 3. Budget goal number 4, it's in the area of professional development and in those specific areas mentioned. And these are the PD things we will continue with, or at least we are asking for support to continue with, and that's our culturally and linguistically responsive pedagogy and restorative practices work that we've been doing the last couple of years. We're going to continue our PD efforts in the area of academic intervention and the differentiation of instruction. More important than ever, right? More important than ever, trying to make sure that all of our kids get the necessary support they need. Professional development on de-escalation techniques. We use Handle with Care here. That's what our de-escalation technique is, and that's something that the department requires, and we're going to continue to do that. Actually looking to grow the number of trainers we have in the district. Special education PD for using augmentative communication devices, something that the special education department will be working on. And of course, the pre-K department is going to continue to work on providing professional development for integrated pre-K classrooms, a model we've moved to and that we're going to continue to support. And again, if you're interested in looking more at the district goal 3, you can click on the green link on the bottom when you get this. And if you're looking at strategic plan, this is goal area 2C and 3, and you'll see the direct connection between the two. This is in the communications area. These are all things that, again, are supported within the budget. The website will continue. The mobile app platform and all the other communication platforms we're utilizing will continue. We have a pretty robust effort in translation services, paying folks who are within the district who are capable of doing that. Plus, we do have a service that provides that as well, comes at an expense, but again, we feel it to be very important. We want our families to be able to participate with their children in their program. Franklin Times, Township newsletter, we contribute to that, both economically and with articles. Inventions competition, we're going to continue with that thanks to the Sadhani Foundation. That's been a really wildly popular activity that has grown out of our G&T program. We have, and we'll continue to provide performances to our seniors. We'll continue partnerships, and I wanted to make mention of these partnerships because they're ever growing and they're awesome. And that's the YMCA partnership we have. They do all of our aftercare programming now. We have a summer program partnership with them where they do use our Elizabeth Avenue campus on days when they can't be out in the fields on hot summer days. And we're looking to do more. In the past, we've done a swimming program with them. So we've had a lot of opportunities since they've been in our district. We're working with Alpha Kappa Alpha, AKA sorority, and the Franklin Food Bank as well. And we've got all kinds of initiatives going on to reduce food insecurity, not only within the school, but within our school community. We have community-based facilities out there, private providers that are hosting our kids for preschool. And of course, we have the Sioux Falls Health Partnership, and we're excited about opening that facility, which will allow us to better meet the health needs of our students and families from all places: dental health, general practice, behavioral health, and that facility is slated to open this summer. And then in the area of energy consumption, we're continuing our local government energy audit. There's no cost associated with that. The cost will come as the projects are identified for us to embark on, but the idea is that the energy savings will help to pay for whatever work is necessary, and then ongoing, you'll benefit from the energy savings, or we will benefit from the energy savings. Sustainable Jersey for schools, it's really something that the board encouraged us to get very involved with, and our schools have really gotten involved. There's a small cost associated with the organization of that throughout the buildings, but the benefits are huge. In fact, just today, our high school team went and got a $10,000 award to develop an outdoor classroom at the high school in the courtyard. Very excited about it. It's going to totally renovate that area and make it more useful for outdoor learning activities. So we're going to do some more of that, and we're going to continue to seek higher level certifications in that program, which will make us eligible for even more grant awards. Solar panel revenue, for those that aren't familiar with this, we did embark a couple of years back in purchasing our own solar panels for Claremont Elementary School. And that has turned into a small revenue source. I think it's about $80,000 because we sell our solar stocks every so often, and it's helping to pay that system off. Once that system's paid off, then that becomes a revenue stream on top of. And we're about halfway paid off, if I'm not mistaken, going off the top of my head, which means in a few years we'll be paid off. And then when we're selling those solar stocks, that becomes revenue that we could then use in other ways rather than paying for the panels. And of course, there's also electrical savings. That's probably in that same ballpark, $70,000, $80,000 of electrical savings, which helps us to contain some of the utility bills. But obviously, with utility becoming so expensive, it's a small portion of what we're able to save. So that really is our efforts in the area of decreasing energy consumption and promoting the health of our school environment and the kinds of things that we continue to support within the budget. And then for the most exciting part of the budget, and then we'll get to questions afterwards from the board, it's the revenue and appropriation side that my friend, Mr. Freed, is going to handle.
Good evening, folks. So I'm going to go through budget goals 7 and 8. It's primarily about the district's revenues. So starting with the levy, goal number 7. This is 85% of our general fund budget. So we're a district that's primarily funded with tax levy money. So that first number there, $165,357,285, that is our revenues, in the current year, increased by our 2% spending limit. So that's the max we're allowed to raise. That's a 2% increase. The adjustment below the 3585205 is one of the allowable levy adjustments that we qualify for here. It's put in place because the state knows that probably the biggest expense not related to salaries in every school district is health benefits. And so they give you an adjustment to the levy to help you pay for those health benefits. And that brings our total levy to $168,492,490. And again, 85% of all of our revenues right there. The next 3 slides, I'm going to talk about our reserves a little bit and what we're going to do with them. This is some items from capital reserve. Hot water heaters, $125,000. At FMS, maintenance vehicles for our maintenance department, around $300,000. Classroom doors and lockdown shades at all of our schools, $108,196. Boiler replacements at FMS, $400,000. An enclosed walkway replacement at Elizabeth Avenue School, $200,000. Freight elevator replacement at SGS, $250,000. HVAC rooftop unit replacements at SGS, $89,304. Alarms at Elizabeth Avenue School, and furniture at our B&G building, and all other miscellaneous upgrades, $27,500. Bringing our total coming out of capital reserve to $1.5 million. Maintenance reserve. We're going to take $1 million this year. It's the same amount that we took last year to support the various required maintenance projects around the district. Fire inspection, sprinkler repairs, waste removal and dumpster fees, HVAC repairs and replacements, building management system repairs and updates, AHERA and IPM services. AHERA stands for Asbestos Hazard Emergency Response Act, and that's to pay for inspections and management plans for existing asbestos-containing materials. And IPM is Integrated Pest Management, which is pest assessment, monitoring, and prevention with non-chemical tactics. Also, maintenance supplies and maintenance vehicles service and repair. So this is the number rundown of the general fund budget. Again, the tax levy there is the largest line item. It's going up 4.21%, which is the 2% cap, plus our health benefit waiver. Next line item there is excess surplus. We used 1.502825 in this year's budget, but we did not have any available to use in this year, so that went down 100%. And what that means is that when we got our fiscal year 24 audit completed, they calculated that we didn't have any excess appropriations that we didn't spend in excess of our 2% cap, or 2% limit. So there's unassigned surplus, which every district is allowed to have, which is 2% of their operating budget. And so that's kind of like the unassigned savings you're allowed to have. Any amount that you generate of unspent appropriations is considered excess surplus, and you can use that as a revenue in your budget, or you can push them into your various reserve accounts, maintenance reserve, capital reserve. And so it's a constant cycling of withdrawing capital and maintenance reserve monies to use and spending, and you kind of plan to do that. But at the end of fiscal year 24, we had to use unassigned surplus of $1 million and did not generate any excess. So that is 100% loss there. And you can see that affects our total revenues that we had available to fund this year's budget. Tuition, special ed, we're figuring that to be flat. That's incoming students that are not residents of Franklin. Capital reserve, we're using 1.5 million, about $1 million less than we're using in the current year. Maintenance reserve, we're going to use the same, $1 million. And unassigned surplus, which is our 2% that we're allowed to carry, 2% of the budget. We're going to use 1.7 of that. So, it's an increase of $700,000. And the last item is miscellaneous and other income, which is all other miscellaneous things all categorized into one bucket, but it's primarily interest income. And just drove down that projection a little bit by $200,000 because I don't want to overestimate revenues. So you can see that our general fund local revenues there is going up 2.84%. So very few things go up only 2.84% in our budget. Raises, insurances, all kinds of vendors, especially in an inflationary environment. So that kind of could circle back to what Dr. Ravalli was describing on how to get this to balance. So that's our available increase in revenues, 2.84. So when you're building the budget and you have this amount of revenues and your appropriations are up here, due to inflation, you have to have reductions to to get into balances, which is what we did here. Some more categories here. State aid, we had a reduction in our state aid of $807,717 to 3.79% decrease. It was a flat 3% on all our categoricals, but there was, if you guys recall, a little influx of extra aid they gave us last year, and we had remember an additional public hearing where they gave us a little more money, which we did not get again. So that's why it's not around 3%, a flat 3, it's 3.79. And that represents categorical transportation, special ed, equalization, and security aid. Extraordinary aid is a number that we develop. It's aid for our out-of-district tuitions, and we're estimating that to be about the same. We won't know for sure what the state funds until they give us the letter. Usually it's around 50% of what we apply for on those tuitions. Semi-aid, that went down 88% from 510 grand to 60 grand. And that stands for Special Education Medicaid Initiative Aid. And around the same time we get our state aid awards, we get a letter from the state telling us how much we should budget in revenue. So that's not developed by us, that's given to us. And it's reimbursement for health-related services provided to Medicaid eligible students. So something happened at the state that I'm not privy to that caused a lot of districts to get significant reductions, and that includes us. They took away 88%. So our total state aid reduction is a 1.258460 reduction. So it's a 5.13% reduction. So again, see the challenges to, meeting our appropriations with losses. And so our total general fund revenue is an increase of 3,566,220, a percentage increase of 1.84%. Next categories there is our special revenue fund and debt service fund. This is basically our grant fund. The special revenue fund is where our title grants are, IDEA, non-public, and our PEA grant. That increase there, 4%, is primarily driven by our PEA grant increase. And the debt service, that's a fixed amount based on an amortization schedule for our principal and interest on our bond payments. So in total, in entirety, the general fund is going up 1.91%. So the next steps are board approval of the preliminary budget by you guys tonight. And probably tomorrow or the day after, I'll submit the package that goes to the county office with all of the different documents. It's due Thursday, so tomorrow or Thursday I'll have that package out. And then in about a month from now, we'll do the final version in the public hearing on April 24th. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Hopkins, any questions by board members?
All right, let's go down the list. Nick, you have any question on the presentation?
Okay, just a couple. Classroom doors, I thought those were done last year? And then
Yeah, there's specific doors. So the high school cafeteria doors would be a good example. They have what's called a God, I forget the name of it, but if you can envision it, and I apologize for not knowing the technical name, but if you hit the panic bar, there's actually a rod. And those rods, if you yank hard enough on the door, the rod will bend and the door will open. That was in the design of the building. We've replaced some of those out, and we need to replace a couple more. And there's a couple, but I think actually those doors are being attended to at Hillcrest now, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a couple of other doors like that, I'll call them panic bar with rods, for lack of a better term, that we're addressing. And then the shades are classroom doors in a school have to have what's called a vision panel. So they're for the vision panel doors.
So they were actually just ones that weren't done before?
Correct.
Okay.
And
then-
ones that we're able to address now, the more
And then-
immediate needs.
The other question I had was the tuition. We're from pre-K, are we still having, or did that go to the YMCA?
Give me a little more on that question, because I'm not following your question. I apologize.
Is there a tuition for pre-K?
A tuition for, no. I mean, for somebody to come and attend our pre-K? No. No. All of our, see, actually, we lost, I'm glad you brought that up because I did want to speak to the pre-K grant. We have carried over money because we haven't been able to successfully seat all of our kids because there's only so much room in our schools and so much room in our private providers. So we have what's called carryover. And unfortunately, the state, after all of this, the state, and I don't know if that's in your numbers, Steve, it's baked into the number. The state came back and they took, so we had carried over money from the previous year, a few $1 million, and they came back and took 25% of that. So they took that from all districts that had carryover and weren't able to seat all their kids. So we got a little less carryover than what we had.
Okay, I'm good, thank you. Good job with the presentation, very
Thank you.
nice.
Walter,
No questions. Great job with the presentation. Thank you.
Erica,
I have no questions. It was thorough. Thank you.
Jimmy,
I do. Just one with the first of all, great job, outstanding job by you guys. With the removal of the peer and positive mentoring program, we did say that we were going to look at other ways.
Say it, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
That's okay. With the removal of the peer and positive mentoring program,
Yes,
from the high school, we said that we were going to look into other avenues for that.
yes.
Are we looking for avenues that are non-cost?
We
based?
love non-cost avenues.
Okay.
That's our favorite road.
Okay. And so we won't have any monies to be able to supplement at all for any use or anything.
Not for those programs listed, no.
Okay. Okay, got it.
But we are meeting with those folks. They're vendors in all the cases of the mentoring. One of our mentoring programs, I think it's, and again, we go out to bid every year for that, so we'd go out to bid again. It's called Aspire High.
Right.
And that one is grant funded. So we're looking for more opportunities like that to support like us programs that are mentoring based. Aspire High happens to be supported by a grant.
Got it. No further questions.
Middle Earth, I'm sorry. Oh, we have that one too. Thanks, Nick. We have Middle Earth as well.
We do have Middle Earth. It is not, a big mentoring program, but we do have that. That will continue. That's a partnership that we have through Empower Somerset. They partner with Middle Earth partners with Empower. They come out to our schools. They do have a smaller type of mentoring program. We're looking to also expand to see what they can do. So we do have that at least to serve as a mentoring program.
Thank you.
Lori,
I don't have any questions, thank you, but thank you for the thoughtful presentation. We appreciate it.
all right, Gripple, you up.
Sounds like Mickey Mantle when you're in a jam, right? Steve, what are the possibilities of expanding the solar panel program? We have Claremont, that's a successful model. We've got 10 different schools with many roofs. And how could we get a little more entrepreneurial on this?
Well, I'm going to go first, and then we're going to let Steve go. That's perfect segue because we have the opportunity. The county program is coming to an end soon, and you know most of our buildings have solar panels. I don't know if you're aware of that, or you might be. You probably remember. But most of the buildings where there's an opportunity to have an advantageous place to put panels many years ago, before my time, which is now many years ago, they put panels there through what's called a county PPA. We get the energy savings, but we don't get the benefit of selling the solar stock like we do on our project at Claremont. When that program expires, and I'll let Steve speak to that if he can remember when it expires, there will be an opportunity there to continue with that equipment, even with no cost of additional equipment other than maintenance and updating and upgrading maybe. And then we can maybe even take some of that over, or we can take the opportunity to refresh the equipment at the time, but that comes at an expense, of course. But there is opportunity in the future. And there's good opportunity to generate revenue. I think we're learning that. We're learning that in a small way with the Claremont project, right? Where we're generating through the sale of solar stocks and then just about an equal amount in savings. We probably are generating, you know, $150,000, $160,000 every time we sell those stocks plus add the savings in. So, yeah, interesting opportunity for sure.
Plus, John, there's also, besides rooftop, we have in all of our schools, there are vacant parcels of land, like at the high school down by where the reservoir is, a little ditch in the back. There are parcels of land that students don't go near, except for the deer, that could be used for solar panels. Like you see them, you know, at different corporate buildings also.
Yeah,
So I think I'm wondering if a study could be made on the whole district. It looks like, you know, if we could capture the sun, we could bring in some dollars here.
For sure. That's not something I can answer shooting from the hip right now. It definitely has to be looked at and evaluated. There's all kinds of different solar options out there. You know, that's not something I can really answer right now. But Ryan does a presentation in each one of our facility committees talking about the money that's generated from our solar panels and when those power purchase agreements expire. You know, a lot of times these things are dovetailed with the replacement of roofs, which is part of the math as well. So it's something that we're continuing to talk about. You know, we will continue to talk about it when it's feasible, when it makes sense to.
Yeah,
you know,
and I just want to put it on your radar, something that I think maybe when we do our goals in July, we could start looking at stuff like this, which leads me to my next question. If you go, the 2% limit that we have is actually a blessing in disguise, because if you go back several years ago in Franklin Township, before they changed the election laws, tonight was a very miserable night for Franklin Township, because the public would come to hear this presentation, and then they would go out and beat the war drums. We would then have to try to pass a budget. And those people, the FTEA, would sit there with their heart in their throat, or however my grandmother used to say it, worried about how deep the cut was going to be. And depending on the board members, it was a fiasco for years. It was terrible. So given that, we have a situation in Washington, D.C., which is becoming similar to those hatchet people that we had here years ago. And I'm wondering if we have a budget now that's not cutting too deep. We have some staff that's being lost, or through attrition, that is, thank God. Have you begun to look at, this is really a John question, what would be the next step? Now, I know that I'm thinking ahead here, but if it gets worse, we don't know what's happening with the Department of Ed, how deep these cuts are going to be, but are we beginning to look at the next step, John? That tonight's kind of an easy step, relatively.
Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to look steps ahead. But if you're asking me for the answer, I can't give that because, it's very difficult. You don't have a magic ball. You don't know from one year to the next. And I think that's what happens. At least that's what I've learned over my 23 years doing what I do in a role like this, that every year is different because, for lack of better terms, I hate to say it, but school boards have been affected by more and more what's happened or happening down in Washington, more and more what's happening here locally in Trenton, and that does have an impact on us. Now, I can't give you that answer. We have to see what happens next year. I can tell you this, it's difficult when you're raising revenue by a much smaller amount than your appropriations are growing. It's a really difficult balancing act. And the only way to solve that is through efficiencies, which is what we're seeking, right? So, Bill, if we all had the answer to that, we'd probably be going to a lot of different board meetings and helping a lot of folks out. But, our job year by year is to draw a circle around that classroom and do the best we can to keep it from affecting kids, right?
Right.
And that's exactly what you saw tonight, or at least was our attempt and the Finance Committee's attempt to protect the sanctity of the classroom and the class sizes and all of those things and try and stay as far out of the classroom as possible, but yet still give our kids a really good, well-rounded experience, which is why none of our other programs, you're seeing cuts there as well. But yes, we are trimming in areas where we can trim. Yeah, I don't have the answer for you other than we'll see what happens next year. We're going to have a gubernatorial change. We're going to have, for sure, right? Governor Murphy can't run again. So you're going to have a different governor. You're going to have a different set of rules. And we'll have to see what those new set of rules are, especially when it's related to finance.
Yeah, I just want to, be a little futuristic about this and be prepared.
That solar idea is where I think we're all mindset on that, because one of the things, if you have a spending growth limit on tax levy, which represents 85% of your budget, you have to continue to seek ways to find other streams of revenue, right? You have to find efficiencies on the appropriation side, and you've got to seek other streams of revenue on the revenue side. If you're not going to be able to get it because you're limited on what you can get, and you're doing everything you can on the appropriation side, then the only other way to balance a budget is alternative revenue stream. And I think that's a good one. And we're going to have that opportunity coming up sooner rather than later. And I'm be shooting from the hip, but it's only a couple of years down the road, and that PPA is out of here. And then we can take some of that stuff over and start to generate some more revenue. And, that's the kind of thing we want to do. And more partnerships. Again, Zufall, great partnership, right? Do things as we've done. This board has worked very closely with the township. And those kinds of partnerships save both the township money, the board money, and ultimately the taxpayer money, and allows us to do the kinds of things that we're doing. We've got to continue to do those things, continue to work together, and we've got to find those, continue to capitalize on those alternative revenue streams if the rules don't change. And if the rules change and we benefit, then we'll take that opportunity as well.
Thank you. Nancy?
I don't have any questions. I just actually have a couple comments. The solar, we're actually ahead of paying that off, so we're in a very good position.
True.
We've just like Ryan Ellis, who's our solar czar, has just been doing a fabulous job at doing that. So thank you. With the going forward with solar on some of our properties, we've talked about that for a while at our meeting. So we're kind of getting, that's something that is on the radar. So that was a good thing. But other than that, really good budget, and it's good that we're able to provide what we can. And it's good that we're able to have the partnerships that we have, that a lot of other school districts actually don't have the partnership with their municipal government. Like, it's very contentious, but not here. So that, enables us, like you said, to have a lot of cost savings. So thank you.
All right, and I guess I'm last. Great presentation. Thank you for sharing with the public that the main goal is not to affect the students. That's the main thing. Yes, listening to the presentation, we may have, some minor staff reduction, but as long as students' well-being and education is not affected. I have a couple of questions, though. And I know that this is just a preliminary. You guys didn't go way into the weeds with this, but I know that earlier on in your slide, John, that with the Saturday detention program that's going to go away, how is that going to be baked into the, I guess, the disciplinary procedure?
Yeah, it's one less strategy, right? So you'll have regular detention, you'll have suspension, you'll have more emphasis on restorative practices, which, thankfully we've moved more toward emphasizing restorative practices, teaching kids not to repeat behaviors that are negative. But it's for lack of better terms, it'll be one less tool in the tool bag. There's no real replacing it. That's always been an add when you can add it. And some places have it, some places don't. We've had it, we haven't had it. We've had it more recently than not. We don't run it every Saturday. We run it on periodic Saturdays, but this Saturday school will continue. The title-funded Saturday schools, the academic piece will continue. It's the disciplinary piece, the couple classrooms where we had kids coming back to school on a Saturday to, lack of better terms, pay a consequence for a behavior, that option just won't be there. It'll have to be another one of the other options that we have.
Question two, with the behavior telemedicine, I believe.
Say it again?
The behavior, I guess the behavior was one of your earlier slides, your behavior managers.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we have in-school clinicians, folks that we pay to come to us to provide clinical services to students. We are going to supplement that, have fewer folks in the building, and have more reliance on a telehealth model.
Is that going to be particular hours of the day, or is too much in the weeds right now?
Well, you can be in the weeds, and by the way, we were very in the weeds with the budget. Those 40 people, or roughly 40 people, were really in the weeds to make this all work. But yes, no, that's not an unreasonable question. And how that works, how we envision it working, how it's worked in other schools is, we won't be trailblazing, by the way. This has worked in other places. How it's worked in other places is it's a referral process that's coordinated through the schools and coordinated by the vendor of the people who manage that, which is really a health service. And then there's the follow-up in the very same way through that care coordinator who will now work with the parents to make sure that those appointments are happening and that those visits are happening. The difference between being in school and doing that through telehealth is it is more flexible because it can happen just like you go to the doctor via telehealth. It's more flexible. But sometimes the follow-up can be a little more challenging. That's why we're going to really have to work with a coordinator to make sure that that's there. So the flexibility will be greater, except when you've got somebody in the building to go knock on a classroom door and take a kid to the guidance office to provide the counseling is very different than, relying on that to happen at 5 or 6 o'clock at night. But that's where the care coordinator should be coming in. So.
And I guess my last question is with Zoo Hall.
Yep.
how's the numbers with utilization and how much the district is saving and all that?
Yeah, I want to, well, we don't save with Zufall, but Zufall doesn't charge. So what we provide is more care, right? There's no savings because this is about a child getting a vaccination. This is about a child, which we wouldn't be doing that anyway. We'd be sending that parent to a pediatrician, but if they don't go, then they're not allowed to attend school. And
Well, let me rephrase my question then. With the based on their health benefits, then the staff, I'm gonna use the words, is the staff itself utilizing Zufall?
No, the staff uses the wellness center, right? So the staff utilizes the Franklin Township Warrior Health Center, right? Zufall provides a service for our students. Two very different places, two very different worlds, all similar services, although Zufall doesn't offer as much as our health center offers. But, you know, they are going to be offering a service to our families and our kids that will keep our kids in school, that will better meet the health care needs of our children. That's where Zufall comes in. So if that was your question, that's Zufall's primary purpose.
Okay. So with that said, a motion to accept the presentation preliminary budget FY26 so it could be moved forward.
I believe it's A1, Mr. Bonanno.
Is A1. Mm-hmm.
So seconded. Second.
Okay. So moved by Nancy, seconded by Jimmy. Brian, can I have roll call?
Mr. Demaglio. Mr. Grippo.
Yes.
Ms. Inocencio.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Ms. LaCourte.
Yes.
Ms. Maris. Yes. Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Dr. Hopkins.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Now we're going to move to our superintendent report.
Yes, and I've elected not to do one, but I do want to take an opportunity to thank all the budget managers listed on that slide. I'm not going to give a formal report because of the length of the presentation, but I did want to thank, first off, Stephen for his hard work. And of course, Brian, also part of that business office. And there are a lot of folks, a lot of positions listed on that slide, almost 40 individuals, plus the finance committee. We were everybody rolled up their sleeves on this one. The challenges were real, and we had a lot of discussion. We did a lot of work, and a lot of those folks had a lot of input as well. And I want to thank them for their work, as well as all the senior leadership. It really was quite a venture this go around, and a lot of people to thank. So that's it for my report. And Mary, great job on the presentation. You worked with us.
All right, we're going to move to the board president report. I'm going to keep it brief. In the board president's absence, I'm just going to say a few words this evening. First, on the behalf of the board, I would like to thank Dr. Vivaldi and Mr. Free for their budget presentation. I know that the presentation for this presentation took a lot of work, and we appreciate the time that Dr. Vivaldi and Mr. Free and their team took in putting it together. For the FHS staff news, we were recently notified that FHS school counselor Heather Danbury has been selected as the Somerset County School Counselor of the Year. Ms. Danbury will be receiving an award this month from the New Jersey School Counselor Association. Congratulations to Ms. Danbury. Upcoming events. The FHS Spring Musical Cinderella will be presented during the weekends of March 28th and April 4th. Please check the website for ticket information and showtimes. On April 3rd, 2025, the district will host a future educators boot camp from 5 through 7 p.m. at the Hamilton Street campus of Franklin Middle School. This is a great opportunity for those studying to be an educator or interested in teaching to network and learn interview strategies. More information on this event is also available in the headline section of the website. And that's it for the president report. Motion to open up the floor for comments from the public, 5 minutes per speaker, agenda items only.
Second.
Moved by Bill, seconded by Lori. It's open.
Seeing no one coming forward, Mr. President, I move to close the public section.
All right. So moved by Bill and seconded by Nancy. Committee reports. Since the length of time with the budget, which was necessary for the public to hear, I would encourage all to go on the website and the reports will be posted, and read the reports, and we will continue reading the reports next year. But make a motion motion to approve the reports, though. All right. Moved by Bill, seconded by Nancy. Brian, can I have a roll call on this?
Mr. Demaglio?
Yes.
Mr. Grippo?
Yes.
Ms. Inocencio?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson? Ms. LaCourt?
Yes.
Ms. Maris?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Dr. Hopkins?
Yes. All right, new business.
Make a motion to move R1 monthly reports and 1 minutes of board meetings. A2, travel and related expense reimbursement. Oh, wait. Sorry.
No worries.
A3, affirm harassment, intimidation, and bullying decisions. A4, National Alcohol Awareness Month. A5, Women's History Month. A6, donations. A7, revised policy, second reading and adoption, policy 7441 and policy 8500. Revised policies, first reading, policy 5521. Facilities use, which is A9, A10, 2526 PEA budget. B1, warrants and payrolls. B2, financial reports. B3, contracts approval, A through H. B4, change orders. B5, purchasing manual. B6, receipt of bids, cafeteria supplies. B7, award of bids, cafeteria supplies, which were all rejected. B8, award of EUS RFP for health insurance broker. B9, receipt of bids, student transportation services, 2627. Award of bid for student transportation services for 2627. C1, out-of-district students, 2024-25 school year. C2, field trip destinations. C3, field trip applications. C1, contractual sidebar agreement. P2, personnel report, and that is it.
All right, it's a motion on the floor to accept R1, M1, A2 through A10, B1 through B10, C1 through C3, P1 and P3.
Second.
All right, moved by Bill, seconded by Erica. Brian, can I have a roll call?
Mr. Demaglio?
Okay, so yes, except for B5, B6, B10, and P2 are abstentions.
So yes to all except B5, B6, B10, and P2. Abstain on those. Mr. Grippo.
Yes.
Ms. Inocencio.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Ms. LaCourt.
Yes.
Ms. Maris.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Dr. Hopkins.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. All right, now we are at the part of the program for, make a motion to comments from the public, 5 minutes per speaker. Any topics?
So moved.
All right, moved by Bill, seconded by Nancy.
Seeing no one from the public, Mr. President, I move to close the public session.
Second.
So moved by Bill, seconded by Nancy. Can we have a roll call on this?
Mr. DeMeglio.
Yes.
Mr. Grippo. Ms. Inocencio.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Ms. LaCourt. Ms. Maris.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Dr. Hopkins.
Yes. All right. Good of the order. Which end of the table should we start with? Erica, we gonna start on that end. Good of the order.
Good evening. I want to first thank all who worked on that budget report. It looks like it was, I can imagine what a challenge it was. I'm just glad that, the focus was on not only maintaining as many of our staff as possible, but also, making sure that there was the least minimal amount of impact on the classroom and our students. So that was what was most important to me, and I'm sure to all of us. So I'm happy about that. I also want to, did we mention Shrek? Did we get to mention Shrek at the last meeting? They happened in between, right? Yeah. So that was excellent. And I guess that's pretty much all I have to say this evening.
All right, Jimmy.
Only one thing. In respect of Women's History Month, we have one of our women at Franklin High School that made history, Arden Gray. She is she came in second and stayed in the triple jump. However, she is in the top 25 in the country, and she's being recruited heavily. And she is expected to make her decision, I think, May the 3rd, is it? May the 2nd or 3rd, when the schools when she makes her her decision. So outstanding job by Arden Gray, and outstanding job by our track coaches to help get her there. So.
Lori.
I just want to echo Erica's comments and thank the team, the administrative team in general, because I know it was a team lift to make this budget a reality. So thank you very much, and thank you so much for the clarity of the presentation, which really helped to bring home not only the goals that we set, but how we try to make that part of our everyday work. So thank you very much.
Bill.
So since I'm the board liaison for Pine Grove Manor School, I want to congratulate on behalf of the board, Kelly Guerrero, who will be the interim for said number of months as Ms. Hennessy moves up. So congratulations on the board. Coupled with that, I had the pleasure of reading during Read Across America Week, and every school except Connolly, not the middle school, the high school. Did a board member read at Connolly? Who's the rep for Connolly? Hello? Who's the board rep for Connolly Road School? Did you read at Connolly? No, because I was at Mac. What'd you say? You did not read at Connolly. Okay. So, Dan, I just want to congratulate. I would have read there. I didn't get an invite. But the thing is, every coach, principal, teacher, they were like on point with this Read Across America. I mean, I always kind of favor McAfee Road School because they're the kickoff school. But it's so great to see the emphasis on reading and the excitement of the kids. So if you could extend, on behalf of the board, our congratulations for that effort. That's a very important week, because as we prepare for the summer, we remind kids how important it is to read every day. So thank the staff.
All right, Nick, you have a comeback from that one.
Okay, so I feel like I'm the events coordinator here, so the high school has Booster Club, March Madness, their Tricky Tray coming up, I believe, on Saturday. Food Truck Festival through Project Graduation, May 17th. Bingo Night at SGS as part of the PTSO, and Project Graduation at the high school will be on May 9th. I want to congratulate Miss Danbury for her award. She had both of my kids at the high school. And that budget, boy, what a great presentation. And thank you, Dr. Ravalli, for the time before the meeting, during our committee meetings, for explaining that and all the work that went into that. Thank you.
Walter.
Short and sweet tonight. Be encouraged, stay encouraged. Thank you.
Nancy.
I actually don't have anything left to say. So thank you for all the work on the presentation and the budget.
All right, before I give my girl of the order, Ms. Guerrero, Kelly, I guess you've been in this building for, seems like every meeting for something. Can you step up to the mic and share with us, because we are excited for you, this moment for you, and
Let me take it. All right. Good evening, board members, central office, staff members, and community members. I'm trying to save paper, so I'm reading off my phone. I am honored and excited to become the interim principal at Pine Grove Manor Elementary School. It has been incredibly rewarding to serve as both the vice principal and interim principal at Franklin High School. I've always said that while I don't have children of my own, I have 2,100 plus students whom I care for deeply. The class of 2025 will always have a special place in my heart, and I'm committed to supporting them throughout the remaining months as seniors. I'm also grateful for the support and collaboration of the entire staff and community. Thank you, Dr. Solomon, for always guiding me since the first day I started at Franklin High School. These experiences have deepened my passion for education and have prepared me well for this new role. As I transition to Pine Grove Manor, I look forward to working closely with a dedicated staff, students, and families to continue fostering a positive and engaging learning environment. I'm committed to supporting the school's vision and ensuring a smooth transition during this interim period. Together, we will build on the strong foundation that already exists and work toward providing the best possible education for our students. Thank you for your ongoing support. I am excited to embark on this new chapter with the team at Pine Grove and look forward to contributing to the success of the school. Thank you.
And I guess with you coming into the facility so often, that shows that you are a rising star. So we are definitely excited and expect you to hold down the helm while for the rest of the year, and then we'll see where it goes. For the good of the order for me is that number one, with the students, be careful. The weather is going up and down in the sense of temperature wise. So make sure everybody's dressed appropriately. But spring is on the way. So I'm excited about that. And that's all I have for today. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, so moved by Nancy, seconded by Lori. We are adjourned.